Hey, how's it going, everybody? Matthew Garnett here with In Layman's Terms, and we are doing the Truck Driver's Guide to the Galaxy live from the Layman's Cave today. And yeah, we got some, more mellow stuff to talk about driving wise today. Although I want to point out a couple of things. I want to revisit the issue about paying attention while you're driving. I also want to talk a little bit about city driving, as we're going to see here. I'm cruising into Chicago. That we're going to cover some footage there. Also going to talk about what's coming up on this week's podcast. Just had a great live interview with Eric Peterson of the Outback Berean. We did a live stream. I was in Chicago. He was in Australia. Went pretty well, all considered. We're still kind of experimenting with all those nifty features of the world's technology. But went well. He had a great conversation. Great guy. Just kind of similar situations where we've been through the religious gamut together. So that was nice to get together with him. I'm going to be live streaming that hopefully on YouTube tonight, so we can get that up there if you guys missed the live stream of it. Also, we've got out this week on the podcast and in the audio form portion of our interview with Anthony Wade of A28 Ministries, and that's up and ready to go. Just want to give you a couple of notes on the we've got a new website up as well. Going to give you a couple of notes on that. But before we get to all that, let's talk about driving. Let's talk about driving. Yes, so here we are in the lovely city of Chicago. It's not too bad. It looks worse than it is. So I cruised right in. Had no problem. I'm oversized with this, about 8 inches or so on each side wide. And there's lovely downtown Chicago. The big, I guess it's called the Willis Tower now. It used to be called the Sears Tower. But there that is. I thought that was a pretty nice shot, and everybody's playing pretty nice tonight. For the most part, Chicago, everybody does play pretty nice. You get people coming up on ramps behind you. You got to be a little bit careful about. They're generally speaking fairly courteous about not sneaking in behind you while you're trying to turn right. I experienced that as I got downtown. This is I-90 really, and I'm getting ready to get off on Ohio Street here. And they were, everybody was very nice. Everybody's lining up nicely here. Of course, the rush hour's kind of over, so everybody's not as frantic as they normally are. But there it is. That's one of the, you asked me why I like truck driving. This is part of it. Not sitting in the traffic so much, but just seeing, these big cities. I used to drive in New York City as well. Really don't like driving around Chicago, but on an occasion like this where it's evening, most of the traffic's done for the day. This is really very mild. It's really kind of exciting, especially when you're oversized, you're in a big rig, and you're coming into the big city. It's pretty exciting stuff. You really feel like a Superman, which you are. I mean, I'm hauling, well, right now I'm fairly light, but generally can be hauling up to 80,000 pounds. You could be as long as 80 feet, and here you are, you're pulling this. You've got the power in your hands to do that. So I like it. I really enjoy it, and have a great time doing it, providing for my family. We talk about purpose and a purpose-driven life. Nothing beats this. This is the idea, and when you enjoy your work and you get into it like this and appreciate some of these times where it's not as crazy. You're just kind of hanging out, waiting to get off an exit and get to view the achievements of modern man, just right out your window. It's pretty cool. So at any rate, try to appreciate that a little bit. I know if you live in a big city like that, it's a little hard for you to do. You might lose sight of it, that sort of thing. But try to appreciate those little things in life, and especially about your job. Think about what you're doing, how you're contributing. Basically, I'm hauling a barge, which is a flotation device that that they use on rivers and stuff, so they can drive cranes out on it. They're getting ready to build a bike ramp across there. And now when I drive by there and they've got the bike ramp built, I can say, hey, I helped build that bike ramp, and I like that. So when we talk about vocation and those sorts of things, that's the thing you want to think about. How what is your vocation doing to contribute to the world? Because nobody's paying money for you to do something useless. It's contributing to the world and thinking about how that is loving your neighbor through your vocation. That's very good. And while we don't look at these things as necessarily, a holy calling like we would look at it in the Ten Commandments, or we're parents or whatever, but we are workers. And Luther teaches us in the catechisms that being a worker is a holy calling. Now the specifics, like I'm a truck driver, you might be a computer programmer, but nonetheless we're both workers and we're both contributing to loving our neighbors in that way. So anyway, that's the big town of Chicago. Now one thing I do want to talk to you about a little bit here is gridlocking. And as you're going to see coming up in this video, this is one thing you want to avoid at all costs when you're driving in the city. Because not only is it annoying, but in some states, I'm not sure what the penalties might be in Chicago. I'm sure there are some. So if the city street cops caught you gridlocking, then you'd be in some trouble. And I'll show you what gridlocking is here. We're going to get through this light, I believe. Or no, this light, this is where it's going to happen, I think, right here. Hopefully, perhaps. Is the light turns red on you and you stop in the middle of the intersection right there. There he is. That's gridlocking. You get caught doing that, I know that's a huge ticket in New York City. Now here I am, it's, no big deal to me, but at the same time, this is frustrating to everybody else. This guy's trying to turn, I can't get through the intersection because I've got all kinds of cars on my left. That's gridlocking. It's against the law. And so that's part of, we talked about paying attention over the past couple of weeks. That's part of paying attention. When you're going through an intersection in a big city, these people, especially should know that might be a tourist. They might not have known any better. But see, even me, since I'm wide, I wouldn't dare try to get through there. I wouldn't fit. So see, I missed a whole light cycle because, oh boy, was gridlocking on me. And he knows he's wrong. You can see him creeping up. But, once you make that commitment, you go across that intersection, there's no backing up, that's for sure. So you look across the intersection. Can you fit your car in there once the light turns on you? If that side of the intersection is backed up, even if the light's green, don't go through it. Just wait. Just wait there, wait for the other side of the intersection to clear, and then you can proceed safely across. Because if you get caught in a gridlock like that, sometimes somebody will hit you, and it'll be your fault. So when you're driving in the city, especially if you're a tourist, you're not quite used to driving in those big towns like that, really pay attention to that, because just about any time of day, this is getting around 8, 9 o'clock at night. And even then, in a city like Chicago, you're going to experience that. And so look across that intersection. Make sure that you can fit your vehicle safely across there before entering that intersection. If you can't, just stop. You might be stopped at a green light, and if people honk at you, never mind them. Because you know what you're doing. You're looking across there. You're saying, hey, I can't get across there yet. I'm going to wait for it to clear. Then I'll proceed. All right. So here's the thing I really want to point out to you this week about paying attention. Now, this was several months ago in the wintertime, and I talked to you about you can avoid virtually any accident on the highway as long as, it's, most of the time it's 2-car accidents that happen. 2 vehicles are involved. You can avoid just about any accident just simply by paying attention. At least one of us was paying attention. Here's a prime example of that. Let me show you that real quick. Here I am. I've just gotten on the highway. Here comes old boy from the right, and he splashes through the water. Now, you can't see him on my camera, but he's right on the edge of the boat. You see me? It looks like I swerved into that lane, but I really didn't. You see, I knew I had 2 trucks coming up on my left, and he was coming over. Let me try to share this to you. He was coming. Looks like he was going to go off and pay the toll and get off that exit, but then he changed his mind all of a sudden. I knew I had 2 trucks. I was paying attention. See, this is a trick. I almost hit the guy. I thought, well, this is it. I'm not going to be able to avoid this one. But fortunately, I was paying attention. I knew I had 2 trucks on my left, so I didn't have much room to edge over. Now, where my camera's positioned on my dash cam, it looks like I was way over in the guy's lane, but I wasn't. As you can see, he came through my lane. You can watch it again. Here he is. He's swerving over, and he almost hits me right here. Now I'm shutting it down. I'm downshifting. I didn't lock up the brakes, but I'm braking very hard. And there's that guy. See, he didn't even have to move. I just edged over a little bit so he could get through. And I don't know. I mean, eventually I'm sure he saw me because he took off. But see, I avoided an accident there. It would have been his fault, no doubt about it. Would have been his fault. But I was paying attention, and I avoided an accident right there. It's, that's all you have to do. And he went on his way, and I went on my way, and praise God for that, honestly, because I was actually heading home to get on a plane, not get on a plane, but get in the car with my family and drive to my dear aunt's funeral. So if I'd have had an accident there, that would have been a major problem. That would have really ruined things for us, I think. So that just shows you, if you're paying attention at all times, you're going to be able to go a long time without an accident. Again, I think I told you before, and this is just how it is when you drive trucks. You can't, on average, most people have an accident every 100,000 miles. Now, for you people out there driving four-wheelers, that's once every 4 or 5 years. No big deal. Your insurance really isn't going to be affected by that too much. But when you're a trucker, 100,000 miles is what you drive in a year's time. So I can't afford to have those accidents. So I have to pay attention. And as a result, I've been able to drive over 500,000 miles without an accident like this, even with incidents like this. It's probably once a month, maybe once every other month. I don't know what I usually name as a number on this, but, pretty frequently I've saved somebody's life, where had I not been paying attention, the other person might have been seriously injured or maybe even killed. So at any rate, yeah, there's a couple of exciting things I got to see out here these past couple of days and the past few months. Let me go back to the podcast, talk about our new website, the way I've got that set up. If you go to laymanstermsradio.org, you're going to land on our landing page, and right there is a page that looks like you have to start paying for our podcast. And really, that's what we kind of want you to get in the mindset of, is donating every time you come to watch the podcast. We're going to try that little gimmick because we're raising money for the Kenya Well Project. It's, all this money goes to them. And, you can go to laymanstermsradio.org, check out everything that goes along with that. It's all above board. We've got all the numbers there and everything else. But, just like you'd go and pay for, go watch a movie, you would pay for it to watch it, or go pay for a cup of coffee, or maybe even pay for a song, that sort of thing that you would download from the internet. That's what we're kind of trying to do. And you can donate in $5, $10, and $15 increments, or you can keep scrolling on down and continue to listen to the podcast for free. You can also go to the GoFundMe and donate the chunk, the $50 that we've been asking for as well. But in my thinking, if everyone that downloaded the podcast, this week I've just uploaded the podcast with Anthony Wade, and I've already got 50 views on it. Just in the past hour or so. If everybody that's already viewed it gave $5, there'd be $250 toward the Well Project right there. So hopefully that's a real simple way that would encourage you to donate to the Well Project, and I hope to see some of those funds come in from you guys that are enjoying the podcast and enjoying me struggling through issues and that sort of thing, that you would donate in that way. Also, check us out on themessedupchurch.com. You can check us out there as well. We will have that's kind of where I point people to the free version of the podcast. You can go to our website and listen to it for free, but we'd like for you to go through the Messed Up Church portal, because there's a lot more resources there and guys that are wrestling with stuff. And that's kind of how, a lot of us are on the Messed Up Church side, is most of us are, I think virtually all of us are laymen, and we are just guys struggling through stuff. And you might be experiencing something similar that one of us guys are going through, or one of us gals, there's women there too, writing and doing podcasts and videos and contributing to the Messed Up Church site. And you might go, oh, I'm going through this and I'm really struggling with how to think about it. Maybe Garnett has something. Maybe Kozar has something. Maybe Peterson, who we just had on the live stream this week, has something on this. Or Anthony Wade, he's got an idea about this. These guys, that's where we're trying to get everybody's resources pooled. So if you're looking for an answer to something, you might be able to find it there from some pretty informed laymen. So we'd invite you to check that out at the Messed Up Church. Now, I also want to talk to you guys about the audio podcast this week with Anthony Wade from 828 Ministries. Had a great discussion with him. That took a direction I didn't think it was going to go. We ended up talking about whether or not it was a sin to bake a cake for a gay wedding, and we went at it as Christians, and that's okay. Anthony was very, very gracious, even though we disagreed sharply on this issue. But I think the big takeaway from that is how to disagree without being disagreeable. You've heard that old cliche, and I think that's a really important thing to do, because in our day and time, we've kind of let the media and our culture line us up in battle array for a lot of this stuff. When we think we disagree on something, that it's not even worth having the conversation. Social media does this very well, where you have a disagreement with somebody and, the conversation just doesn't go anywhere. And we think, well, that's just a complete waste of time to try to talk to somebody. And I am refusing to succumb to that zeitgeist of the time where there's no use in talking to anybody on the other side. It's a waste of time. It's not. And it's something, if we can't continue to talk to each other about issues, even though it's the same argument over and over and over again, that, whatever disagreement I have with somebody, if I'm able to converse with them one-on-one, and that's, again, the reason why I'm trying to do, a lot of these personal interviews that we're live streaming, is because you just deal with people differently in person than you would, across a computer screen. And so I would encourage you to not give up on that idea. And that's what I think Anthony and I do a great job of this week, is showing you, hey, you can talk about these things. You may disagree on them, but you both walk away a little richer with a little more understanding. And I think if we keep at it, that's the idea, the civil discourse idea. So go check that out. That's live on, that's the live podcast this week. Again, don't forget to donate to the Kenyon Well Project. Thank you to Steve Kozar and the Messed Up Church for inviting us to be contributors there. And if you're up in Nebraska and you're cruising through Lincoln at any time, you flip on KNNA The Cross and listen to us up there. We're on actually a live radio station up there as well. Okay, well, there you go. There's the Truck Driver's Guide to the Galaxy this week. Hope you enjoy all the content we're putting out this week, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.